More troubling news of the recent rash of gay teen suicides, and yet another distraught after being bullied relentlessly at school, killed himself by walking into the path of a truck in Pennsylvania.
At the age of 16.
Bullied gay teenagers today.
By overdosing on another family
Hung
member's
himself at an
medication.
Oakland University.
That tragedy, just one example of the magnitude of the bullying problem.
And succumbed to depression.
Committed suicide by jumping off the George Washington Bridge last week.
Loss and grief.
Was shoved into lockers.
Bullied.
You're in this absolute black tunnel.
Tragedy of suicide.
Relentlessly at school.
And you cannot figure out how to get out of it.
Last year in the US, 10 lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered teenagers killed themselves within the space of a month. They were bullied because they were gay or were thought to be gay. But what about the stories we didn't hear? LGBT teenagers are 4 times more likely to commit suicide than their heterosexual peers. And with 9 out of 10 LGBT teens experiencing abuse or bullying in schools, it's no wonder that gay kids are more at risk. Stories like this come up often, but they are quickly forgotten. Now, in a world more accepting than ever, why do these tragedies still occur? I wanted to know what people in modern Britain thought about this. Why is sexuality such a big issue when fundamentally we're all just searching for the same thing? Strip away the fear, judgment, the preconceptions and the scriptures to what remains. The same 4 letters. Since the birth of the gay liberation movement of the late 60s, significant milestones have been achieved in LGBT rights. But how tolerant are we as a country?
I think this day and age, Britain are a bit more tolerant than what they used to be. Years and years ago, it was, even though it happened, it was almost unknown. And if you were found to be gay, then you were kind of like looked upon as being something, completely different, really. But this day and age, it's more acceptable. And I think because of that, people that are gay are able to come out more, which I think is a really good thing. You still have people that don't like it, taboo type thing. But I think those tend to be the older people that are still back in their generation. But I think this day and age, Britain today accepts it more, which is good.
I think as a country we're accepting compared to other countries. Other countries we have to hide the fact, which I don't think is right. I think people should be open about how they feel about different situations, rather than hiding it just because of ignorant people.
I think across the board, I think we don't know how tolerant Britain is, to be perfectly honest. I mean, there's people and places that are extremely tolerant and accepting of the gay community, but there are other people and places where to kind of come out as gay can be very difficult. I think really it's very much an individual experience in terms of who you are and where you are and how you're kind of accepted or tolerated as a lesbian, gay or bisexual person. I think in terms of that word tolerance, it's a really interesting word, because I know that I as an out lesbian, I don't want to be tolerated by society. I want to be part of society. I want the same rights as everyone else, because I don't go around breaking the law or anything like that. So I'm a pretty good person. I know right from wrong. So I want to be accepted, not tolerated. I think Britain needs to get to that point where, oh, aren't we fantastic because we tolerate people? It needs to be that, we fully accept people and that it's just not an issue. I mean, I think that would be like the kind of utopia for lesbian, gay, bisexual people, and I think probably all kind of minorities as well. That it's just not an issue. And I think that, hate crimes that are happening to gay people, homophobia, kind of not being included, being kind of left out of societies, like very simple things like not being on the census, or not being, sexual orientation not being monitored. So we never have a very good kind of idea about how many gay people are actually in Britain. And I think that's always a very easy kind of argument for people who maybe aren't that understanding to come back at the gay community with, which is, well, it's not a problem in our area, in our community, because there's no gay people here. And it's like, well, how do you know? And it's the same with teachers saying, well, homophobia is not a problem in our school because there's no gay kids here, and they don't know because it's just not monitored. That evidence isn't collected across the board, and that's something that the Lesbian and Gay Foundation, as an organisation, that's one of our main things about building this evidence base, so we can say, yeah, we are here, there's so many of us here, and there's so many of us over there, and we do contribute to this society, and we absolutely want and should have equal rights.
I've been brought up to treat everybody as an individual, but then again treat them as you want to be treated as well. My uncle's gay, that's my mum's brother. He came out a few years ago, which is a shame because, he's in his 50s, and it's a shame that he had to keep that to himself for that long. But I think he didn't know how the family would accept him being gay. But I've been brought up to, just be fair. That's what it's all about. Accept people for who they are.
My family were fine. Like, it was more with me. Like, I didn't want to, because my mum's like pretty maternal, so I didn't want to say to her, you're not going to have grandchildren. But I found when I came out, they were just like, oh, okay. Like, it's pretty obvious, like, when you're a kid, I think you can tell when a child's gay. When I was young, like, I tended to play a lot with my sister because that was the only child in the house. So I feel she could have influenced me. I don't think she did, because I think I started to be gay, in a sense, when I started to like understand about sex and stuff like that. So I don't think you can be influenced to be gay. I do think that it's just something that develops in you. Because, like, it's the same with, like, heterosexual people. Like, you can just, you're a kid and then you start to have feelings. And I think it's the same with gay people. It's just a thing that develops.
Obviously, I mean, over the last, say, 12 years, I mean, there's been rapid change in terms of equality, in terms of protections and legislations for lesbian, gay and bisexual people, which has been fantastic to see. And a lot of countries don't have that kind of protection. I think we've seen, I think, with the kind of a rising kind of consciousness about fairness and equality kind of across the board, I think we've seen the more progressive nations kind of take other nations to task about, kind of some of the legislation, the very worrying legislation that they have in place. So, I mean, Uganda has been going through their kind of government processes, like some really dreadful laws about, kind of people with HIV and ultimately people getting, the death penalty for being lesbian, gay or bisexual. And and let us not forget that in over 70 countries around the world, being gay is, a criminal offence. You can get imprisoned, you can get the death penalty for it. And I mean, things like that are absolute. When you live in the UK, and I live here in Manchester, which is, a very multicultural city, kind of very kind of accepting of the gay community, when you hear things like that, I think you find it, you know, very kind of hard to equate with your life as a gay person, because, you know, it's just the unthinkable that in another country that their legislation, that is perfectly okay and acceptable for a gay person to be put to death. And that, I mean, that is it's just such a frightening prospect. But still, there's still challenges. I mean, I, as a gay person in a gay relationship, depending on where I am, I wouldn't automatically feel comfortable about walking down a UK street holding my girlfriend's hand or kissing her in public. And so that in itself, and I know a lot of gay people feel the same way, so that in itself demonstrates that, you know, we've still got, you know, a long way to go.
I've been embarrassed when I've just been, like, walking down the street and someone will, like, shout something out. Like, that's a bit embarrassing because I haven't done anything. It's not like I'm doing anything with a guy. I'm just walking and someone said something. I think that's embarrassing because it makes you feel like maybe I should conform to something that I'm not, and like I get embarrassed thinking that I should be a certain way just to please other people, when really, like, deep down I feel I shouldn't do that because it's who I am.
I think some people are just rude. I think some people I think there's a big percentage of British people that are just rude and ignorant, you know, and I think that's what it boils down to. I don't think it's intolerance. I just think it's people that are just don't think out of the box, you know. They live a narrow life, and being gay goes out the box a little bit, and I think that's what the problem is. I just think some people are really ignorant and rude, because unfortunately this day and age sometimes to be gay isn't accepted and they treat you as being inferior because you're gay. And I mean, even kids that aren't gay take their own lives because they can't stand being bullied. You know, that's how they deal with it. So to be bullied and be gay and dealing with those issues and trying to deal with everything else, maybe they just didn't see another way to deal with it, you know, and would it ever go away? You know, being gay, you know, you are gay, you know, and you have to deal with that, and that's never going to go away. So maybe they thought that being bullied and everything probably wasn't going to go away either. They probably thought because of being gay they'd have to deal with that growing up as well, and how could they possibly deal with that?
I think the message to all young people, and you know, if we could have our time over with those 10 young people again, you know, is no matter what you're feeling, no matter how different you feel, there's somebody out there that feels just the same as you, and talk to someone, to anyone, about the way that you're feeling, rather than do this, because this is absolutely not the thing you should be doing. It's the worst thing you should be doing, because there's people out there who love and care for you, and, you know, just talk to them, let them know how you're feeling, and so, you know, they can support you and get help, kind of thing.
Homosexuality is a tricky subject. It brings with it a stigma and a stereotype that forces blind judgment and intolerance. Tragedies like teen suicide are the product of bullying, bred by hatred and the fear of what they don't understand. Too often is this issue swept under the rug, the victims made blind to acceptance, their lives slowly fading away. But can we be sure that things will get better?
Just because you're different doesn't mean you deserve to die for it. I think we need to be more accepting, and we need to be more understanding. Even if we don't understand, I think we should be more supportive, because it will prevent a lot of things that have happened because of people not being able to accept gay people being scared to come out or talk about it. And hopefully we will all be equal one day, soon.